Welcome, dear friend, to Arkham Horror, the card game. This is going to be episode 0 of our Path to Carcosa blind first playthrough, whatever you want to call it. And episode 0, deck building, no gameplay here. That's our first warning. Our second warning is it's going to be a really long video. And I think as the cycles go on, as we get new cards added into the card pool every time, the videos are just going to get longer. Instead of me getting better and quicker at deck building and getting more knowledgeable, I think the novelty of the cards and, reading through the new ones and being excited about the new ones and thinking about combos, thinking slowly about combos, I don't really ever think fast. I think it will just elongate the videos even more and they'll turn into almost like a podcasty 4-hour jobby later on. Dunwich took 90 minutes. I would not be surprised if this video lasts over 2 hours, so you have been warned. The other warning, I suppose, is that I'm in the corner of the screen now. I'm trapped in a YouTube video. Help! I can't get out. I'm in a box. I'm on screen. I thought for a deck building episode, for when there's nothing actually happening on screen, there's no gameplay, I thought something dynamic needed to be happening, because all you've got is words on a screen and words coming out of a speaker, and there needs to be something going on. Anyway, look at this hat. What a ridiculous hat. I mean, it's practical, it's fantastically warm, but I look like a smurf. Anyway, I'm going to stop looking at OBS now. I'm going to stop seeing myself because it's freaking me out just a little bit. And we'll get back to the deck building, or we'll start the deck building. Investigator choices, what are we going to play? Well, we had a Guardian last time. We had Zoe in Dunwich, and we also had a Seeker in Rex Murphy. So Mark Harrigan, no. Minty Fan, no. And I'm kind of happy about it because Mark Harrigan doesn't seem that interesting. Minty Fan does, with her kind of, extra wild icon commit kind of nonsense, but not for us. And then the choice was between these last 4. So I looked at Safina Rousseau, and like with so many cards, there have been cards like this before, and there will be more cards, presumably in the future. I understood all the words that are there. I can take it in, I understand what's going on, but I know I would have no way to make a proper use of Safina Rousseau. Just seems a little bit too complicated. I think at this point she's just too good for me, or too good for where I am, which is ironic actually, or what's the opposite of ironic? It makes sense. I tend to like arty women in real life, and as above, so below, they're too good for me in real life too. The choice then was between Akachi, William Yorick and Lola Hayes. The less said about Lola Hayes, the better. Has anyone read through this investigator card, or even played it? It's ridiculous. I don't know what kind of masochist would take this through a campaign. And if they were going to, I suppose it would be like a victory lap kind of investigator, where you played every other investigator and you've nailed all of them and you understand deck building to an incredible degree, and this is just to prove that you are indeed an Arkham Horror god, I guess. Anyway, obviously, I'm not an Arkham Horror god, so Lola Hayes was off the table as well. Thus leaving Akachi Onyeli the Shaman and William Yorick the Gravedigger, so our decision was almost made for us. The only person we had to really exclude was Safina. William Yorick, our lead investigator, up until this point. If there's something at the start of the story when we're reading through the setting where thematically it makes sense for Akachi to be lead investigator, we'll change it, but at this point it seems like our simpler, more tough, fightery characters should be the lead investigators. The only thing I've seen the lead investigators, the only differentiation I've seen for the lead investigators is that bad things happen to them. Either enemies spawn on them, or they get too horror-like in Night of the Zealot. I don't think they're useful for anything good. So let's say William's tankier. He's the lead investigator. We'll build his deck first. We are playing with the most recent Taboo list, 2.5, on the 26th of February 2026. Mostly changes later cards, to be honest. I don't think we'll see any updated cards, but it's good to keep up to date with the latest version. Of course, limited card pools, revised core set, Dunwich Legacy, the Path to Carcosa. If you don't remember, we're playing with only the cards that were released at the chronological time the cycle was released. So we're in effect playing it as if it were coming out for new today. That's how I wanted to do it, and I've really enjoyed that so far, so we'll continue that throughout. Let's check out William Yorick the Gravedigger. Then he is Warden. He has 3 head, 2 book, 4 fist, and 3 boot. 8 HP soak, 6 sanity soak. As a reaction, after you defeat an enemy, you play an asset from your discard pile, paying the cost. Limit once per round. Cool. This is Graveyard recursion is an idea that I'm really excited to get to grips with. The last time I tried it was with Wendy Adams in the core set, and there wasn't really... I might have been just bad as well, but I don't think there were really enough cards to make anything interesting happen with it. But at this point, I'm sure there will be. Some flavor text. Our first bit of Carcosa flavor text. I am but a simple player in this drama, but if I am lucky, I'll live to see the curtains fall. Very, very tempting to do an overacted Shakespearean take on that, but I held myself back. Deck size 30. Deck building options, survivor cards 0 to 5, neutral cards 0 to 5, but also some guardian cards 0 to 2, that'll be nice. Deck building requirements, nothing special, just our signatures and one random basic weakness. William Yorick never wanted to be a gravedigger. He had trained to be an actor and had worked for years in Boston, taking whatever parts were available. Shakespeare was the best stuff, of course, but after many years and hardly any roles, he was forced to admit that the stage was not his destiny. Digging graves was tedious work, but the dead made for an excellent audience, and William always did love a soliloquy. The job took a dark turn when he found degenerate creatures eating the dead in their graves. Ever since that night, Yorick has kept the creatures at bay, using whatever means he can to protect the dead. Alright, so that sets us up to look at these signatures. We have Bury Them Deep, which is a zero-cost event task. One head, one fist, one wild commit, pretty cool, but as with most of these signature assets, you really want to, or not signature assets, just signature cards, this is an event. I think you just want to play them for their purpose rather than their commit icons, but if it comes up on the last turn in a game, then what can you do? It is fast. You play after a non-elite enemy at your location is defeated. You add that enemy and this card to the victory display. Victory points 1, awooga. Very happy to see this, our own little delve too deep. His signature weakness is this our first enemy for weaknesses that we played with so far? I think it's the first one that we've seen, even on the investigators that we haven't played. Humanoid monster ghoul, 3 fight, 3 HP and 2 boot, 2 evasion. Only does 1 HP and 1 sanity damage. Its prey, interestingly, is William Yorick only, so it won't go after anyone else. It won't do damage to anyone else, I think. Because it says only, I think that's the operative word there. It is a hunter. While Graveyard Ghouls is engaged with you, cards cannot leave your discard pile. I understand what's going on. Let's take a quick look at Akachi before we start building our decks. Akachi Onyeli, the shaman. She is a sorcerer. 5 head. 5 head, unbelievable. 2 book, 3 fist and 3 boot, 6 and 8 soak. Your assets with uses charges enter play with 1 additional charge on them. Very cool. Something with, what has 3 charges? Right of Seeking. So Right of Seeking will, it's what, efficiency, efficacy, what's the word? It will have 4 charges instead of 3, so it will be 33% bigger when you put it in. Her Elder Sign effect is +1. I don't think I read Yorick's Elder Sign effect, did I? Yorick's Elder Sign effect is a +2. If this test is successful, return 1 card from your discard pile to your hand. Very cool, playing into the recursion aspect as well. Akachi Onyeli, +1 Elder Sign effect. Add 1 charge to an asset with uses charges you control. Sweet, very standard. This is less interesting to me as an investigator ability than William Yorick's, but I think for our first Mystic, really, keeping it simple but strong is probably the way to go anyway, so we're kind of happy about that. I will journey to the lands beyond. I do not fear them. Akachi Onyeli, kind of a badass. Very cool. Coupled with the card art, she is obviously made of much sterner stuff than I am. But aren't all the investigators? I'm a wimp. Deck size 30. Deck building options, Mystic 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5. Cards with uses charges levels 0 to 4, and Occult cards level 0. This is interesting. I wonder what that gives us access to that we wouldn't get from just Mystic 0 to 5 and Neutral 0 to 5. We'll have a look in a second. Deck building requirements, just the signatures and a random basic weakness, that's fine. Okachi's biography, let's go. As a young girl in Nigeria, Akachi became used to being set apart. Her habits of chattering away at thin air and secluding herself from other children led her village to believe she was mad. Her village, Dibia, was the first to see her true potential. He believed Akachi was marked by the spirits for greatness, and he taught her how to commune with them to her advantage. Under his tutelage, Akachi grew into a wise young leader, respected not just in her village, but in every community she aided. Now she meets her destiny head-on, seeking out unnatural troubles that only her knowledge can stop. Badassery confirmed. I like Akachi already. Her signatures, we have a 2-cost asset ritual Spirit Seeker, Spirit Speaker, Envoy of the Alusi. Commits for a head, commits for a book, commits for a wild. As a lightning bolt, you can exhaust Spirit Speaker to choose an asset you control with usage charges, hopefully have lots of those, probably spells. Either return that asset to your hand or move all charges from that asset to your resource pool as resources and discard that asset. You'd probably be more likely to use the first option, I think, just to cycle spells. And I see that that is very strong because we can always, it means even though we get more charges on our spells, once a spell is out, we're always gonna have access to it. We effectively have unlimited, of course they cost resources, but we effectively have unlimited uses of spells that we want to have unlimited uses of. I think anyway, I can see how that's strong. Her weakness is angered spirits. This is a treachery weakness task. On revelation, you put it into play in your threat area. As a lightning bolt, you exhaust a spell asset. Move 1 charge from that asset to angered spirits. I see. And forced, when the game ends, if angered spirits has fewer than 4 charges on it, you suffer 1 physical trauma. Similar to a kind of Roland Banks deal. So, you have to give up something to deal with something to not get trauma, basically. So, just instead of giving up actions like you would on Roland, you give up spell charges, which is fine. Now, the exciting bit. Let's build some decks. Let's first do William Yorick. I think he might be simpler, perhaps. Whoa, how to start? Well, what we did in the last deck building video, and we'll do it in this one as well, I think, is just throw in all the cards that we feel. Look how many cards there are, 130, how exciting. We'll just throw in all the cards that could be useful, and then we'll whittle it down afterwards. Starting off with our hand assets. 32 Colt, this is new, and like I said, I'm going to read new cards and it will go slowly, I'm afraid. 32 Colt, every time I see a new firearm, I feel like I compare it to the 45 automatic, and every time I see a new melee weapon, we compare it to the machete. That's kind of our standard reference value. So the 32 Colt, what I'm seeing is that it's 1 resource cheaper, and it commits for a fist icon, but that's less important because it's an asset, we want to be playing it. It's 1 resource cheaper, and it has 2 more ammo. Okay, so far, 32 Colt is better in all ways than the 45 automatic, so what's the downside? You don't get the +1 fist. That's the difference. So you're trading 1 resource cheaper and a boost of 2 ammo, which actually feels like a lot, 6 shots versus 4 shots, and you're giving up the +1 fist. The problem here is, if the choice was just between the 32 Colt and the 45 automatic, I almost think that you would be hard-pressed to make that decision. On William Yorick, because you can recur cards, I think you're more likely to want slightly stronger cards with less legs on them, that don't go as far, that don't have to stretch as far. So the advantage of 32 Colt, it lasting longer with 6 ammo, is not so interesting. And also, the 45 automatic has an upgrade here, and that does sway my opinion, unfortunately. I get dollar signs in my eyes, and I want to buy it, and I want to better our cards. We will choose the 45 automatic for our firearm. We could choose both, but there's no reason to, I don't think. 2 copies of the 45 automatic. Now, blackjack, we saw this in Dunwich. No point talking about it. What does it even do? For what situation is anyone gonna take blackjack as their melee weapon? It's insane. Maybe if you had 100 cards and you had 10 actions per turn, then maybe you take blackjack, but not for us. Fire axe. This is not a card for William Yorick. I think William Yorick, I believe, will be surprisingly resource hungry because we're recurring cards and we're having to play cards again, obviously paying their resource cost. The only time Fire Axe is doing +1 damage is when you have no resources, and I hope to never have no resources. Fire Extinguisher. It's not new, but we haven't seen it, I don't think. This is a 2-cost item tool melee. As an action you can fight, you get +1 fist for this attack. You don't get +1 damage though. I think I have a real hang-up at the moment, and I don't know when this will change. It feels like weapons, for them to even be considered, unless there's some crazy synergy, some crazy combo going on, they have to have that +1 damage. Because how can a fire extinguisher or a blackjack, how can they ever compare to a machete or a trench knife maybe? Trench knife doesn't get the extra damage either. How can they ever compare? I just don't think they can. The other use of fire extinguisher is this exile. Now, exile is you have to rebuy the card with experience in between scenarios, and it's not a mechanic that I imagine I will be playing into too much. I like my experience, I like my victory points, I like upgrading cards rather than just getting a card back that I had to use when my back was against the wall. But anyway, the action is you can exile it to evade. You get +3 boot for this test. If you're successful, evade each other enemy engaged with you as well. Right, why would you not use, and sorry, I'm skipping way ahead, but I just want to demonstrate that I actually do know some cards. Why would you not use something like a survival instinct instead? I guess it costs 1 more experience, and the base version doesn't evade and exhaust the enemies, it just disengages from them, but I really don't see that would be good for William Yorick. A flashlight, let's tentatively include flashlights, we know what they do. On a two-book investigator, flashlights do have some kind of natural synergy because it takes down, is that right? It takes down 2, hang on. In fact, I don't think they have natural synergy, I think it's just nice to have. With a flashlight, you take down 2 shroud locations to 0, which is kind of the magic number, that's what we're going for. And then I guess being +2 on that is good. Anyway, rambling, useless, and I'm rambling on camera too, which is just even more embarrassing. Gravedigger's Shovel, obviously thematically we must include it. Now let's read it through and see if we get rid of it straight away. It's a 2-cost item, tool, weapon, melee, commits for a fist. Spend an action to fight and you get +2 fist for this attack. There's no +1 damage. I feel like I can't include it. Or you can spend an action to discard Gravedigger's Shovel to discover 1 clue at your location. At least that's interesting. A testless clue for 2 resources. Is that a good trade? I'm not quite sure. I have a feeling, even though obviously we would kind of like William Yorick to be having a Gravedigger's Shovel because it fits his character, and he even has one in his picture. And he also has a lantern, which I saw further down the list. They're in his pictures. We want to include them. I'm not sure they will make it to the final cut, I'm afraid. Knife. This is a 1-cost item, weapon, melee. We've seen this before and we've not wanted it before, but on William Yorick, it might be all right. This might be our melee weapon. You can spend an action to fight, you get +1 fist. That's rubbish, you don't want to be doing that. But you can also spend an action to discard knife. To fight, you get +2 fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. And then with William's recursion, you kill something with this and then you bring it back straight away, I assume. So I guess we are including this, meaning that I really don't see the place for Gravedigger's Shovel if we've got knife as a melee weapon. Anyway, cookery was horrendous. Does William Yorick make this useful? He does not, I don't think. No, he does not. Less said about that, the better. Lantern, 2-cost item, tool, commits for a book. You can spend an action to investigate. Your location gets -1 shroud for this investigation. -1 shroud feels kind of shitty. Or as an action, you can discard lantern to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. I like the discard action. This attack does not provoke attacks of opportunity. This is cool. 3 health enemies are annoying in Arkham so far for Guardians because you have to use 2 actions. Normally, we have to use 2 actions for this. Anyway, and if you've got a knife already out, you could just test with a +1 fist. With a +1 fist, I guess it's testless damage. That's the idea. If there's whippoorwills or something. Are there whippoorwills? It's cheating to check the encounter decks, but I am. If there are whippoorwills, if they do come into scenarios, then we will include lantern, but for now I don't think we do. And again, it's such a shame because it's in William Yorick's picture and it's so thematic for him being a nighttime gravedigger. Is he a nighttime gravedigger? I always just assume that the graves get dug at night and it feels like a kind of nighttime job, but why would they dig graves at night? Why not dig graves in the day? Anyway, lantern is, I don't think, included. And now machete, let's just think about this. Let's put them next to each other. Knife and machete. +1 is on both of them. Machete is much more expensive. We wouldn't want to recur machete, but that's not what we'd be using it for anyway. if the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you. So you can use knife 3 times before machete is better value. Now when you look at it like that, you are going to be using, but you get the +2 fist when you discard knife to get that extra damage. Ooh, I don't know, man, it's tricky. Let's leave them both in there for now. I kind of feel like maybe you include both. Maybe you have a one-of knife and then 2 machetes. I'm not sure, because the thing is, with William Yorick, I see that once you have used an asset once, you don't need another one in your deck, if that makes sense. We don't have to pad our deck with 2 copies of everything necessarily. Maybe we will, but we don't have to, because once you've used it once, it's then in your discard pile and it's always available to pull back to your hand after you kill an enemy. That's my understanding of it anyway. Newspaper. You get +2, sorry, it's a 1 cost, we've seen this already though. You get +2 book while investigating if you have no clues. It's not great. I mean, it's an unlimited flashlight. I see that, but only when you have no clues, so it's just for the first one. Maybe if you got 2 clues for it. And what is newspaper upgraded? Newspaper upgraded is, commits for 2 book this time. You get +2 book while investigating if you have no clues. But when you would discover 1 or more clues at your location, if you have no clues, discover an additional clue at your location. It's not saying that you have to use the newspaper to get the clue. So if we had a newspaper out in one hand, the problem is it's a hand slot, isn't it? If we had I know this is an experience cost card, so we're just putting in there to compare. If you had a newspaper out and then you used Gravedigger's Shovel to get your first clue when you had no clues, you would get 2 clues with Gravedigger's Shovel. But then you would have both of your hand slots full of things that aren't weapons, or at least aren't very good weapons, because Gravedigger's Shovel isn't, because it's got no damage. I like the idea of newspaper. We would need a bandolier, so let's tentatively put that in. I don't know, I don't really see it, but let's include it for now. And if bandolier is our body choice, it's not going to be our body choice, because I happen to know that William Yorick wants a leather coat. But for now, we'll leave it in to play by the rules of deck building. A trench knife, we saw this, it doesn't give bonus damage, so what's the point? Let's give it a shot. It's a 1 cost, that is nice, it's cheap. Engage actions you perform do not provoke attacks of opportunity. Spend an action to fight, you get +X fist for this attack. X is the number of enemies engaged with you. In the worst case scenario, you'd be engaged with 2 enemies. 3 is monumentally awful, and then you can't even clear out too many of the enemies because you're not doing extra damage with your attack actions. I don't see how. I would be really curious with these weapons that don't do a bonus damage. I'd be really curious to see if there are decks where their core, decks that are built around these to make them the most useful in slot. I would like to see decks that, if you have any, this isn't me engagement farming, if you have any decks where something like a trench knife or something like Gravedigger's Shovel is your main weapon and it doesn't have a bonus damage, I would be very, very intrigued. Something like a fire extinguisher, perhaps. I'd be very, very intrigued to see it. 2-handed assets, we only have 1 to choose from. It's a baseball bat. We've seen this before. I don't like the 2-handed assets. Baseball bat is 2 cost, item, weapon, melee. You can fight, you get +2 fist. It's nice. This attack deals +1 damage. Also nice. If a skull or auto fail symbol is revealed, discard baseball bat after the attack resolves. It's fine, and I see how it's more useful perhaps on William Yorick because losing it doesn't matter as much. But I think if you have a 2-handed weapon asset, I really think it needs to do +2 damage or have some kind of much more interesting idea behind it than baseball bat. Again, if there's a deck that exists where baseball bat is core, I'd like to see it. But I don't see how it's going to fit into our arsenal. On to accessories now. Cherished Keepsake. This is new. This is a 0-cost item charm. It commits for a head, and it has 2 sanity soaks, so it's just the mental version of leather coat. And you want to include leather coat on Yorick because it makes you invincible. There are some things I know about this game. Cherished Keepsake seems like an auto-include for that reason. Now, I've included 2 at this point, but do we only want to include 1? This, if it gets removed, we'll recur it. That's the idea. So could we save card slots? We'll see. It's an idea. So when we get further down the line, it might be a cool differentiator for William Yorick to have maybe 1 copy of a fair amount of his assets, or the assets that he wants to recur anyway, and then have a lot of events and skills, perhaps. But we'll see what the choice is. God, there are a lot of events to choose from. Maybe that is what we do. Right, where were we? Accessories. Cherished keepsake. We want this. Elder Son, Key of Yis. We haven't seen Key of Yis before. Key of Is. Let the Storm Rage. It's a 3-cost item relic. 4 sanity soak this time. It is exceptional, though, because it's mutated. Or it's exceptional and mutated. What is the mutation? It'd be nice if it showed it on the... Let's have a look. Ooh. It is the exceptional, so it's going to cost, 10? It's going to cost 10 experience. I don't even think it's that strong. Maybe it would be strong for 5 experience, but, yeah, not 10, I don't think. Oh, I've lost my tab. Here we go. Not Kivius, don't have to worry about that. The discard is fine, I think, as long as you're not playing Dunwich Legacy. It would have been completely nasty on that. Police badge, something to upgrade into, perhaps? You get +1 head, that takes us to 4, which feels much safer than a 3. But in a way, do we really care about our head stat, because we're going to be soaking up any sanity damage with Cherished Keepsake and with allies as well? Probably not. I guess the actions are, it's a cool idea. Do we want to put it in our side deck to remind us to upgrade into it? You know what? Maybe. I don't think Rabbit's Foot. I think we would rather have a police badge than a Rabbit's Foot. So let's say we'll upgrade into this if we get the Relic Hunter permanent card that gives us another accessory slot. But for now, Cherished Keepsake is fine. Ally assets. Aquina. We have seen her before, but we didn't find a use for her. What is the point of her? Is she useful on a William Yorick? 1 and 4. When an enemy attacks you, exhaust Aquina, deal 1 horror to her, so she can do that 4 times. It's like a kind of beat copy type situation. Deal that enemy's damage to another enemy at your location. You still take horror dealt by the attack. This actually could be cool. I don't know why didn't we include her with Wendy? She was expensive, perhaps. I'm not sure. The upgrade, though, we have access to the upgrade now. What's the difference? Slightly cheaper, but it's 3 experience instead of 1, so there must be something else. When an enemy attacks you, exhaust, deal 1 horror to her. Fine, she's got 4 sanity, can do that 4 times. Deal that enemy's damage to any enemy at your location instead. You still take horror dealt by the attack. The only difference is that the upgraded Aquina can do the damage back to the enemy itself, which is pretty cool. How often is this going to happen? It might happen a lot. Is William Yorick's recursion going to make Aquina stronger? Potentially not, but I do really like the idea. 4 cost and she can do her thing 4 times. That is very, very... Well, it's better than Beat Cop. Beat Cop can do his thing 3 times and he's 4 cost. Let's include an upgraded Aquina, tentatively, into our side deck. I really like the idea of it. I of course like playing red cards on red investigators as well. That factors into it. Now, Beat Cop. Can we get away from putting Beat Cop into yet another deck? I don't think so. The +1 fist is just too good. Don't think we need to talk about Beat Cop too much. The upgrade goes in the side deck. Just trying to make more use of the side deck too. As the card pools get bigger, it's going to be more confusing, and I'm going to forget more that I've said in this deck building video when I'm doing the upgrades in between scenarios. So this will hopefully help me keep track of, cards that I said were good that I've magically forgotten were good by the time I get round to the episodes. Brother Xavier. And the problem is, all these allies are fantastic. Brother Xavier, pure of spirit. You get +1 head. Well, we said that +1 head is perhaps less interesting for someone like William Yorick. That's something to think about. Brother Xavier may be assigned damage or horror dealt to other investigators at your location, so it'd be good to help out. Soaking for Akachi, of course. When Brother Xavier is defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. I always feel like Brother Xavier is kind of weird when you have access to Guard Dog. Well, what did I say I always feel? That's not true. In Zoe's deck, I took Brother Xavier. I'll start it again. It feels to me like when you have access to Guard Dog and you're not caring too much about boosting your head stat, Guard Dog is infinitely better, especially when you can recur Guard Dog, thinking about it. We don't need the soak as much with William Yorick. The soak would only be applicable to Akachi Onyeli. And Akachi Onyeli would be nice for the HP soak, but we don't need it necessarily for the mental soak. God, it is fascinating. Let's put it in our side deck. And let's include Guard Dog in our starting deck, I think. Can't include Aquina at the start anyway. Madame Lebranche, guard dog is the sort of the spiky one, the counter-attack. When an enemy deals damage to guard dog, deal 1 damage to the attacking enemy. It's very, very nice. Testless damage is always fun. Madame Lebranche, Manifestress, Mysterious Benefactress, 2 cost ally patron, 2 and 2 soak. If you have no cards in your hand, exhaust and draw a card. If you have no resources, exhaust and gain a resource. Well, we hope to never have no resources, and we hope to never have no cards. I mean, we don't have crazy card draw on William Yorick, but the recursion could be said to be card draw in a way, so the likelihood of our deck or our hand being empty is less. Is that correct? I think we don't want Madame Lebranche on William Yorick. Peter Sylvester. Now, we read through this on Dunwich, and we liked the idea of him in Dunwich. 3 cost, ally Miskatonic, 1 and 2 soak. You get +1 boot for the unupgraded version. It's fine. After your turn ends, you heal 1 horror from Peter Sylvester. Obviously, this is disgusting, and the upgraded version gives you head as well. +1 boot and +1 gives you it gives you +1 head. Let's phrase it like that. You get +1 boot and +1 head from the upgraded version. Same deal. After your turn ends, heal 1 horror from Peter Sylvester, but he has 3 horror, so you can kind of preload him with 2 horror potentially, and then he takes 2 turns to remove that horror. Do we include it though? It's an interesting idea. The problem is that there are so many strong ally options, and I can't see myself getting rid of Beat Cop, so that's one of our slots kind of already taken up. I want to play Aquina. She's a red card, and we haven't found an opportunity to play her before. And in a way, Aquina might just be better damage. Aquina might just be a better guard dog for William Yorick. William Yorick, if he's playing Peter Sylvester especially, but even just with this cherished keepsake, you hope that he's invincible to all amounts of horror and HP. So Aquina still doing the horror dealt by the attack to us is not such a bad idea, I think. I can see this being useful, actually, and I'm excited about that, because including 2 blue allies in a red deck doesn't sit well with me at all. So do we want this Peter Sylvester? Well, say we had 2 charismas. We'd want upgraded Beat Cop, upgraded Aquina, the Forgotten Daughter, and then our 3rd ally would be either, well, it's not going to be Stray Cat, I'll tell you that now, nor is it going to be Red Gloved Man, because I don't understand the card. It's either going to be Peter Sylvester or Brother Xavier. Let's include both, and then when we know more cards, or when we're further down the scenario line, we can choose which one we want. It will probably be, even though I said we don't need to shore up our head, we don't really need to shore up our evasion either, because we should be fighting with all our enemies. Shoring them up both at once with 1 single card that also heals loads of horror feels to me like a really good combination. The only time Brother Xavier would pit Peter Sylvester to the post, I think, is with this idea of shielding Akachi from damage. So we'll remember that, and we'll take it into consideration later on. Now asset body. Asset doesn't mean anything. At the moment, we've got 2 copies of Bandolier. Like I said, I happen to know that William Yorick lives or thrives off leather coat. So, we're not going to want both, are we? There's no permanent to upgrade your body slots, I don't think. Well, I like that permanent, though. That's new. Yeah, there's just Relic Hunter and Charisma at the moment. So, although we would like to include Bandolier, it would make our decisions for this hand asset malarkey much more simple. I don't think it has a place for us. Bulletproof Vest, 4 HP soak for 2 cost instead. I think Leathercoat is just better than that on William Yorick, because you can just recur it on and on, forever and onwards, making up words, making up phrases. I would like an opportunity one day to include a fine clothes, but today is not that day. Although, it's only 1 cost and it does 1 and 1 soak. Maybe. No, but William Yorick doesn't want to parlay with 2 book anyway. Feels like a bit of a lost cause shoring up this book stat. It's a shame, because in games I will always choose high charisma, like a dexterous high charisma elven archer or something, and then I'll always want to talk my way out of situations rather than fighting. So the idea of taking fine clothes into scenarios and talking my way out, even though we might be talking to like eldritch beings or something, it appeals to me, but not this time round. I guess it's quite deck techy as well, in the way that you would have to know which scenarios have parlay actions to take. I don't think we've had any so far apart from well, there was one in Night of the Zealot to get control of Lita Chandler, and then there was was there one to get control of Peter Clover? Was there one to get control of Peter Clover in The House Always Wins? I'm not sure. But anyway, there haven't been many, so including it, I think, is inefficient, so we will have to move on, though I don't want to move on. Combat training. This is new, a 1-cost talent composure, and it has 1 sanity soak. It's fast, and there can be a limit of 1 composure in play. Non-direct horror must be assigned to combat training before it can be assigned to your investigator card. Right. Now, what does that mean? Well, you can spend a resource, you get +1 fist. We like that. Spend a resource to get +1 boot for this skill test. Now, actually, I skipped ahead earlier, didn't I, to look at the permanents, and we saw Scrapper. Now, isn't Scrapper just... I guess there are heroes that can't equip Scrapper and can only equip combat training, but if you can equip Scrapper, which we're going to do, we're going to put it in our side deck. Did I put 2 of them in my side deck? That's very funny. We would definitely only need 1 of them. If an investigator can take Scrapper, why on earth would they ever take combat training? I don't think they would. So we'll almost just kind of skip this. Dark Horse. We saw this. We didn't find a use for it. During the upkeep phase, you can choose not to gain resources, yes. When you have no resources, well, we've already said we don't really want there ever to be situations where we have no resources. Pretty cool, though. One boost to all your stats if there are none. Again, I would like one day to find or to build an investigator that centers around Dark Horse. I feel like it could be fun. Dig deep. We haven't found a good use for these 2-cost talent. The 2-cost talent suite cards where you can spend resources to gain boosts in stats, even when the stats have aligned perfectly on investigators, like with physical training on Zoe and Dunnage. I just never felt like it worked, or I never felt like it was worth spending an action and spending 2 resources to get it into play, almost. So I don't think we'll include this. Also, this one doesn't even have fist that we would want on William Yorick anyway. First aid. Now, what we were saying about protecting Akachi, the thing I'm very aware of with Akachi is that she has 6 HP. And this is kind of a little scary, especially because I'm not very good at managing damage historically. So do we include it? 3 supplies. I think we saw the upgraded version of this in Dunnage, and the upgraded version was good, but this version isn't. 2 cost for 3 supplies. You can then spend a supply, so obviously that's 3 times, to heal 1 damage or horror from an investigator at your location. How does it compare to... Let's just add it for a second, and I want to compare it to emergency aid. So first aid, 2 cost. Emergency aid, 2 cost. First aid will need 4 actions to heal thrice. 3 times, but it was an excuse to say thrice. An emergency aid needs just 1 action to heal twice. Though you can't heal horror, but we don't want to be healing horror anyway. We want to be healing HP if we want to heal anything. Therefore, in this case, I'd say first aid is bad for William Yorick, and emergency aid is good. But we've skipped ahead, so let's go all the way back up to first aid. Here we go. Painkillers. Spend a supply, exhaust. This is where you swap horror and HP, isn't it? No, not for William Yorick. Physical training. No. Are there upgrades to this physical training? Let's have a look. Yes, there are in Return to the Night of the Zealot and in the Nathaniel Cho Investigator deck. Well, they both come out later on, so we haven't got access to them yet. This is 2 cost physical training, and it means all it does is reduce the cash cost from 2 to 0. Okay, not worthy of a deck include, I don't think, unless it was fast to play. That would be cool. The 4 experience, or the level 4 physical training, still costs 2, but then when you put it into play, it has 2 resources on it. You replenish those resources at the start of each round. That's what I'm talking about. This is what we want. That, I feel, would be an include in something like William Yorick's deck, but not the level 0. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting ahead of myself and looking forward to cycles, but I'm intrigued and interested. No physical training. What about Plucky? It's an experience cost, so we can't include it yet, but let's read it. It is new. This is the Survivor version of combat training. So where combat training was fist and boot, Plucky is what? Head and book. Not for William Yorick. We don't have to linger on that too much. Scavenging. After you successfully investigate by 2 or more, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think we're going to be successfully investigating by 2 or more, maybe ever, on William Yorick, so we'll just skip past that too. Smoking pipe is the opposite of painkillers. True Grit, 3 cost, talent, 3 HP soak. True Grit may be assigned damage dealt to other investigators at your location. Now this is cool. Again, it's HP soak for Akachi. So if we threw that in, how does that compare to an emergency aid? The difference I see is that True Grit, both of them have the same damage mitigation to resource value. True Grit 3-3, emergency aid 2-2. They both cost an action. The thing with True Grit is it's only worthwhile if Akachi is at our location, whereas emergency aid could be used sort of retro, or could be used after Akachi takes damage and then they meet up and then the problem can be solved then. So I think True Grit is not for this deck, or not for this deck in the Investigator combo with Akachi. Try and try again. This was in Dunwich, but I don't think we saw it because it's level 3. 2 cost talent, commits for 2 head. It's a police officer with a bow and arrow. It's not a police officer. It's a French resistance fighter with a bow and arrow. Try and try again. As a reaction, after a skill test is failed, if a skill card you own is committed to that test, exhaust try and try again. Return that skill card to your hand. Very interesting. I think we include this in the side deck because we've got to upgrade to it. And make sure to keep it in the back of our brain when we're looking at all our skills later on, because this could be incredibly powerful, I think. Maybe in someone else's hands, but I'll see if I can make it incredibly powerful. Charisma, Relic Hunter, and Scrapper. Well, I really think there's so many good allies. I think Charisma, 2 Charismas is an auto-include in the side deck. Beat Cop and Guard Dog, and then as we said, either an Aquina, Brother Xavier, or Peter Sylvester. Well, Aquina replaces Guard Dog, then it's either Xavier or Peter afterwards, but they're all so strong. 2 Charismas, easy decision. What about Relic Hunter? Obviously, we got Cherished Keepsake out. We don't care about having 2 copies of Cherished Keepsake out, I don't think, because we can recur it. We don't need them both out at the same time. So, will it be worth it to include just 1 Relic Hunter for a police badge, or would it be worth it to include 2 Relic Hunters for 2 police badges and a Cherished Keepsake? Potentially not, I don't think. Or for a Rabbit's Foot. It's an interesting idea. I think we'll add 2 of them for now, because we already have the police badge in there. I don't think Rabbit's Foot is worth a slot. So let's just leave it as either 1 or 2 Relic Hunters, and the slots will be filled by a couple of police badges, if anything. Onto our events, and there are a lot of events by the look of it, so let's just kind of go slow and try to take them in properly. Eat Lead is new to us. It is a 0 cost, 2 experience tactic. It is fast. You play when you activate the fight ability on a firearm asset. Well, we do have one of those in the 45 automatic. You may spend X additional ammo tokens from that asset. When you reveal Chaos tokens for this attack, reveal X additional Chaos tokens. That is sick. Choose one to resolve and ignore the rest. I see this being fairly worthwhile on William Yorick because our ammo reserves are less important. I guess they are expensive because it's a 4 cost for 4 ammo, so we don't want to recur it that much. But if we really need to succeed, it might be nice to spend 2 ammo just once round. It's interesting. If we were going to include it, I think we'd include it as a one-off. I don't know if that's correct, but I feel like there is probably only 1, maybe 2 times in a scenario where you need to succeed on a fight ability. But including 2 cards in a deck is overkill, I think. But we'll see how it turns out. I'll see you in hell. 0 cost Spirit. Each non-elite enemy engaged with you is defeated. You are defeated and suffer 1 trauma physical. This attack does not provoke attacks of opportunity. It's a cool card, I understand, and it would be a very dramatic moment for a YouTube video, I suppose, but I don't think William Yorick is ever going to be in a position where he's going to be... You kind of imagine that you'd use this when you were on death's door yourself, just to take everyone with you, and then Akachi finishes off the scenario herself and you succeed and you get your experience and whatever. I don't think William Yorick is ever going to be in such a dire strait to make I'll See You in Hell worth including. If it bleeds, we saw this. I don't see a reason to include it, especially not with Yorick and Akachi. Let me handle this. Now this is a cool idea. I have read this. I don't know why I've read it. I think I watched a deck building video or a card video where someone talked about the rogue version The rogue version of this, where it's, let me handle this, is, you can see here, you, the person who plays the card, takes the brunt of the encounter card, the encounter deck draw. But the rogue version is, the rogue plays the card and then sends his encounter or sends their encounter card to some other investigator. So I read about those and I really thought they were fascinating. So, to start over, this is a 0-cost spirit. You play it after another investigator draws a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects. You are considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. You get +2 to each of your skills while resolving that card's revelation effect. I guess the decision here is, are there going to be any encounter cards that we want to take off Akachi? We don't know that. That's the really difficult thing. We could say maybe or probably, but I don't think it's worth including cards on a maybe or a probably. The +2 to each of your skills is sick. I mean, if it's a head test, Akachi can deal with it herself. If it's a book test, then that might come in handy. We haven't seen many book tests, but, I guess as the cycles go on, you would imagine that they include tests for all stats in the encounter deck at some point. I don't know. If it's a fist check, again, we haven't seen many of those. William Yorick would like it. If it's a boot check, Akachi and William are kind of equal, so William might want to take it. Actually, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, yeah, maybe a one-off, that might work. So let's keep a one-off, just as a kind of, like an insurance policy. Maybe 2 of is too much, but a 1 of, yes. Look what I found. This is obviously sick. Remember this on Wendy Adams. It's a 2-cost fortune. It's fast, which is always nice to see. Play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while investigating. Discover 2 clues at your location. 2 clues for 2 cost is very efficient, I believe. A chance encounter. We saw this, but it's got an upgrade now. 1-cost fortune. You choose an ally asset in any player's discard pile. Put that asset into play under your control. At the end of the round, if that asset is still in play, discard it. You don't have to pay its cost, by the look of it. And the upgraded version costs X, which is always interesting, and it's 2 experience. Choose an ally asset with printed resource cost X in any player's discard pile. Put that asset into play under your control. Well, let's look in Akachi's deck, and let's have a look at her allies. Is there anything here that we would like to take control of with William Yorick, either for a turn or permanently? Alyssa Graham, +1 book. Exhaust to look at the top card of either the encounter deck or any player deck. You may then add 1 Doom to Alyssa Graham. Well, Doom management is not something I even want to dip my toe into unless I have to, so let's say no. Arcane Initiates. Enters play with 1 Doom on it. You can exhaust to search the top 3 cards for a spell card and then shuffle. It's sick, and I'm excited to play it, but not on William Yorick. David, what about the upgrade? No, not the upgrade. What about David Renfield? Esteemed eschatologist. What is an eschatologist? Eschatologist. It is the branch of theology and philosophy focused on the last things, encompassing beliefs about death, judgment, the afterlife, and the final destiny of humankind and the world. Great fucking word. I've never heard it in my life, but I've heard it now. Don't think I'm ever going to get an opportunity to throw it into conversation, but I will try, damn it. This is a 2 and 1 soak. While David Renfield has at least 1 Doom on him, you get +1 head. Fine. You can exhaust David Renfield. You may place 1 Doom on him. Gain 1 resource for each Doom on David Renfield. I understand the words. It's Doom management. Unless I'm forced into it, it's a no from me. It does mean that our decision for William Yorick is made a bit easier. We don't want the upgraded chance encounter. But do we want the level 0? Means we could pull, I don't know. Beat Cop we want out all the time. Guard Dog we want out all the time. Brother Xavier though, I'm just thinking Brother Xavier, we don't. Brother Xavier could just be pulled out to soak and then do damage. How many opportunities are there? How many times are there going to be? How many? This is I can't get my head around this sentence. In how many opportunities are there going to be to pull a Brother Xavier out of our discard pile, play him, of course, for free for 1 turn, and then take either 3 HP or 3 sanity damage so that he can die in a turn, and then why am I struggling with my words? Die in a turn and then deal his damage. I guess he's fine for just soak, but ideally we would want to kill him on the same turn to do the damage. Shit. And we'd also need to have a free ally slot, and that actually might be the deciding factor. we don't, how often are we going to have a free ally slot? Probably not that often. If we're recurring cards and we have very strong allies anyway. I think this is a no. I see how it could be cool though to soak damage in a bit of a scary situation. No, we don't include it. We're already on 25 out of 30 cards, and I don't feel like we've really got into our deck, so we're going to have to whittle down at least some from this. A test of will. It is a 1-cost, 1-experience spirit. Fast, when you play I see an exile. I skim red ahead. Play when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect. Exile a test of will. It would be fine, probably, if we didn't have a mystic as well, but we do have a mystic. We'll probably be playing Ward of Protection, so we have some cancel there. And again, I just don't like the exile mechanic. I don't think it's bad. It's not like a suboptimal or unfun necessarily. It's a me problem. I just don't like the idea of spending my experience to get cards back into our deck. Ambush. This also costs 1 experience, and it's a 2-resource cost tactic. Attached to your location, if there are no investigators at the attached location, discard ambush. Okay. Forced. After an enemy spawns at attached location, deal 2 damage to that enemy and discard ambush. It's interesting. I get the idea. After an enemy spawns, though, they're not just moving into the location. Spawns. How often are we going to know that there's an enemy coming? I guess you combine it with what? Combine it with on the hunt. Let's say again this is a deck tech card, or you combine it with a card that we don't know of. Or have we played with any cards where you force an enemy to spawn? I don't think so. Bait and switch. I'm sure there will be at some point, and they do exist somewhere. We just haven't seen them yet. Bait and switch. I'm sure I've heard about one on a PBG or a quick learner video. Bait and switch. 1-cost trick. Evade. If you succeed, if the enemy is non-elite, evade the enemy and move it to a connecting location. I like the idea of moving it to a connecting location, not moving away, not us moving away. It's a cool idea. I don't think. Again, we don't really want to be evading that much. I find with a lot of these cards, they always specify if the enemy is non-elite. And it always feels like if an enemy is non-elite, we want to be bashing it in with either like a machete or a shovel or the heavy end of a flashlight. But we'd love to be using these cards on elite enemies, but it feels like the only use case for them that I can see is sort of taken away from us by the rules on the card. So I don't really see a place for that. Bury Them Deep is our signature asset. Calling in favors. 1-cost favor. Choose an ally asset you control and return it to your hand. Then search the top 9 cards of your deck for an ally asset and play it, reducing its cost by X. X is the cost of the ally asset returned to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Is this better or worse for us because we've got recursion? Makes things cheaper. I think because we have recursion, this is potentially it's rendered a bit moot. What's the word? What's the word when something is obsolete, rendered obsolete? I think it might be surplus to our requirements on William Yorick. I see the value, especially when you have expensive allies like Beat Cop and Aquina that you want to wipe out the damage that's on them so that you can play them again, because the damage that's on them, or the ceiling, how much damage you've got left on them yet to use is part of their usefulness. Anyway, we don't want calling in favors. What is close call? I think we saw this when we were looking at Wendy. 2-cost fortune. You play after a non-weakness, non-elite enemy. Your location is evaded. Well, how much evading are we going to do? And then all that happens is you shuffle that enemy into the encounter deck. You don't even defeat it if it had victory points on it. Not for us. Cunning distraction. Ha ha ha. Never again. It's just so expensive. So expensive. Devil's Luck. 1 cost. Does cost an experience and a fortune. Fast. Play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 10 damage and or horror just dealt to you. Exile Devil's Luck. Cool card. Not on William Yorick. Very, very definitely not on William Yorick. Dodge. Might be nice to protect Akachi. And in fact, maybe it's another one-off just to protect her actually. Just to protect Akachi actually. 5. We moved on quite fast from that because we kind of We've seen this before, we know what we're doing. Dynamite Blast, it's a cool idea. Is this another one-off? Choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator at the chosen location. Okay. Are we including it for a bit of fun? Not necessarily for fun, but are we including it to get that really clutch moment? Maybe, let's include it. Let's include one of them. I love the idea. I've said this before, a one-of on dodge and a one-of on Dynamite Blast. Just as a kind of backs against the wall, save us type situation. 2 emergency caches, yes. And there's also actually this one that we haven't seen. It's another upgrade of emergency cache. This time it would cost 3 experience. You could gain 4 resources or place 4 supply tokens among assets controlled by investigators at your location, or any combination thereof. Well, I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I want to see how. I'm gonna close my eyes because I know it flashes for a second, and then how popular are they? Okay, the original is. This isn't the one I'm looking at, but that's reassuring that this is popular. How popular is this fancy upgraded one? Not that, 6%, and the other upgraded version is only on 4%. All right, I just wanted to get an idea of how strong it was. Oh, got to go all the way down. 2 are just the basic version. That's fine. Eucatastrophe. Eucatastrophe. What does eucatastrophe mean? Let's Google it. Eucatastrophe, a term coined by J.R.R. Tolkien in his essay on fairy stories. Wonderful. Refers to a sudden, joyous, and unexpected turn of events at the end of a story that saves the protagonist from impending doom. It represents a good catastrophe or a miraculous, happy ending that transforms despair into triumph. Fucking phenomenal. I love words. Hope you can tell at this point that I like words. What does it do? Fast. Play when you would reveal a chaos token that would reduce your skill value to 0 during a skill test, including auto-fail. It's nice that it's included auto-fail because these cards often don't. Cancel that token and treat it as an Elder Sign instead. Remove. Eucatastrophe. Now it says remove. It doesn't say exile, so it's still in our deck, but you can only use it once per scenario. And this is cool. And Yorick's, I might just start calling him Yorick because I always want to. His Elder Sign is very strong, +2, and you get to return a card from your discard pile to your game. This is a nice idea for our side deck, I think. Ever Vigilant. 0 cost tactic. Commits for 2 book. 1 at a time play up to 3 assets from your hand, reducing the resource cost of each by 1. Isn't that just like an emergency cache, but emergency cache is more versatile? You're you're using a card and an action, of course, but then you're saving 3 resources. Must be something I'm missing on that. Or I guess there are investigators. In fact, what was Tommy Muldoon? Not Tommy Muldoon. I've been reading the updates, the news releases for Chapter 2. What is Mark Harrigan? After damage is placed on a card you control. So I'm sure Tommy Muldoon, they were talking about it. What about, it's Chapter 1 version. Tommy Muldoon. When an asset you control is defeated, gain X resources. Oh, no, not that. There was some Guardian that when you put assets into play, they have extra ammo on them. So I guess in that scenario, Ever Vigilant is, you'd still, if you were getting extra ammo on assets, you would still get the extra ammo if you use the resources from emergency cache. I don't know what I'm missing, and are you ever going to include 4 copies of kind of effectively the same card in one deck? Probably not. The point is, no to Ever Vigilant. Evidence at testless clues for someone who will be fighting enemies is good. That is the only explanation needed there, I think. Extra ammunition. The nice thing about this is it only costs 1 experience. This costs 2 cash for 3 ammo tokens, and the 45 automatic costs 4 for 4. So, extra ammunition is good value. Is it good enough value to take up slots? That's the question. We don't know. We'll put it in the side deck. Fight or flight. Until the end of the round, you get +X, fist and boot, where X is the amount of horror on you. The amount of horror on us is probably going to be low. Therefore, fight or flight, we probably won't make good use of it. Flare. 2 cost, 1 experience tactic. You can either fight, you get +3 fist, pretty sick, and deal 2 damage for Exile Flare, boo! Or you can search the top 9 cards of any investigator's deck for an ally asset and put it into play under your control. Then Exile Flare, a double exile, double boo. Shuffle the search deck. No. I don't like the exile, and I don't think the effect is even worth pushing back against that initial repulsion. Heroic Rescue, Spirit Tactic 1 cost. Fast, play when another non-elite enemy would attack another investigator at your location. Engage that enemy, resolve its attack against you instead, then deal it +1 damage. I like this, or rather I like probably one of them, in the same way that I have 1 dodge. Now, if we have access to Heroic Rescue, we probably don't want dodge, and then we could include 2 copies of Heroic Rescue. Perhaps engage that enemy and resolve its attack against you instead. Yeah, because this one you're dealing it +1 damage, and we don't care about taking the attack on William Yorick because hopefully he's going to be invincible, I guess. I suppose dodge, did it say dodge? Dodge didn't say anything about non-elite, did it? I mean, maybe that's where the difference comes in. If a boss was attacking Akachi, then we would need a dodge. It's tricky, man. Alright, let's include 1 dodge just for now. We'll probably whittle it down in a second, but I love the card. Hiding Spot. A 1-cost tactic trick. Fast. Attach it to any location. Each non-elite enemy at attached location gains aloof. So from anywhere on the map, Yorick could play this and save Akachi from a round of badness. At the end of the enemy phase, if a ready enemy is at attached location, discard Hiding Spot. I see. So it only lasts 1 turn. It's pretty cool. And it means, as I said earlier, these investigators are, hopefully, the idea is to build them to be a bit more flexible. You might imagine that they're splitting up more often than Rex and Zoe split up. So a way to help Akachi from anywhere on the map might be really cool. Let's include, it would be a 1 of, I think. The problem is there are so many interesting cards that I want to include. We're going to be so over. Infighting, 1 cost, 3 experience, trick. Fast, play after the enemy phase begins. Cancel all attacks made by non-elite enemies against you this phase. Don't care about that, not on Yorick. Lucky, play when you would fail a skill test. Get +2 to your skill value for that test. I think it is very hard to imagine a world where you don't include a Lucky in a Survivor deck. It feels very, very, it's not integral. But it feels very representative of the idea of Survivor. So does something like Look What I Found. And it also has an upgrade, so my eyes come out on stalks and steam starts coming out my ears. Lure. Attached to your location. It's a 1-cost trick. During the enemy phase, each enemy that moves does so along the shortest path towards the attached location, instead of to where it would normally move. Forced, while attached at the end of the round, discard Lure. So you can affect where the enemy moves for 1 round only. Feels way too situational for me to include it without knowing what's coming. Mano a mano. 0-cost Spirit Bold. Play only as your first action. That's cool. It's a new qualifier that we haven't seen before. Deal 1 damage to an enemy engaged with you. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity, but it's not fast. It's testless, I guess, but the idea that it's not fast is weird. I mean, the testless nature of it is the only thing that makes it inviting, really. I'm not sure this will survive until the end of the deck building. Moment of Respite. We saw this in Dunwich. Play only if there are no enemies at your location. Heal 3 horror and draw 1 card. Probably never going to need to do that on Yorick. On the Hunt. A 1-cost tactic. Fast. Play when you would draw an encounter card during the Mythos phase. Instead, search the top 9 cards of the encounter deck for an enemy, spawn it engaged with you, instead of its normal spawn location, that's cool, and shuffle the encounter deck. If you cannot, draw the top card of the encounter deck. Right, there's a lot going on. This is, where was it? So, it's a lot of cards to set up just for 2 damage. You'd put down an ambush. This is my theory craft. You put down an ambush, and then in the next Mythos phase, you pull an On the Hunt instead. You're spending 2 cards and 1 resource here and 2 resources here. Doing all that just to deal 2 damage to an enemy that spawns. I don't think so. I guess On the Hunt is useful if we were at a location with a clue and we had an evidence in our hand, potentially. The problem is the searching the top 9 cards of the encounter deck it's so easy for that to whiff, especially because we don't know how many monsters are in. It's not monsters, it's just enemies in general. We don't know how many enemies are in the encounter decks. I feel like it could easily go very wrong and then you just wasted a card and a resource. We have Oops, two cost fortune. I guess we saw this in Dunwich, but I don't remember it. Event fortune 2 fist to commit fast. Sorry, I'm looking at things and just saying them. Fast. Play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while attacking an enemy engaged with you. I do remember this. Deal this attack's damage to a different enemy at your location. It's interesting, but I don't think. Again, I think it's way too situational to take up card slots. And also, it costs two cash as well, which I guess it's free from an action standpoint, but I don't think it's worth it. Prepared for the worst. We've obviously seen this. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a weapon asset and add it to your hand. I mean, it was cool. It was very useful, or the idea of it would have been useful a couple of times when we did our hard mulligan for weapons and we didn't find anything. Maybe we include one of them. Maybe just one. I'm not sure. If you could commit it for 2 fist, to me that would be much more inviting, because then once you've got your weapons out, it's still very useful. And at this point, committing it for a book or a fist doesn't feel that strong. Let's get 2 of them for now, and I think these might go. Snare Trap, 2 cost, does take 2 experience. It's trap and improvised. Attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Forced, after a non-elite enemy enters the attached location, exhaust that enemy, disengage it from all investigators, and attach Snare Trap to it. It's a cool idea. Forced, when the attached enemy would ready, instead discard Snare Trap. When it would ready, so it comes in the enemy phase. It doesn't do any damage to you, and it skips its 1 attack. Then, when it would be unexhausted in the upkeep phase, swiftly following it, you discard Snare Trap, and then would ready instead discard. Does this mean you stun it for 2 turns, effectively? It comes in the enemy phase, right? Doesn't do any damage. So you're skipping that damage that you'd be taking from like a hunter enemy, I guess. Then the upkeep phase is when it would ready, so that's when you discard Snare Trap, and then you get to the next enemy phase, and it's still when attached enemy would ready. I know, so you're not skipping. I don't know why it's been so difficult to get my head around this. It comes in the enemy phase. You exhaust it there. When it would ready in the upkeep phase, you instead discard. Yeah, instead. That's the word, isn't it? Discard. Sorry. Instead, discard Snare Trap. It stays unexhausted in the upkeep phase. You go round. You go through another enemy phase, and only then it gets readied up. So it's a 2 turns stun. Is that right? This actually does seem very cool. I'm going to put it in the side deck. I think I've understood that. I'm just giving it a once-over to see if I've missed some embarrassing word, but I don't think I have. Anyway, Taunt. Well, we couldn't make use of this on Zoe, so we're going to say we can't make use of it on William Yorick either. I just don't ever see a situation where this becomes worth it. Teamwork. We saw this. Investigators may trade any number of items, allies, or resources among each other if they're at the same location. No, I'm sure this breaks deck building restrictions in some way, but I'm not savvy enough to know how to do so. True Survivor, 3 cost, and it does cost 3 experience, that's not nothing. Spirit, return 3 innate skills from your discard pile to your hand. So William Yorick can normally just recur assets, not skills, so this broadens his horizons in some way. What are the innate skills? Let's have a look. Trait. Innate. There's not too many of them, so we can look and I think get a good idea. Are there any of these skills, or, are there 3 of these skills that are worth bringing back? Not without a fight. Commit to a skill test only if you're engaged with an enemy. For each enemy engaged with you, it gains a head, fist, and a boot. Probably not going to be engaged with two enemies very often, so this just becomes like an unexpected courage that you can only use when you're engaged with an enemy. It only really becomes worth including. And unexpected courage is innate. They're the same. It only really becomes worth including when there'd be 2 enemies on you fairly often. I don't know. I'm not seeing the value. Again, I think it's like deck tacky. Is she attacking things with a feather duster? Oh, it's a multicolored wrench. I thought, those like stereotypical feather dusters that you see in films that probably don't even exist in real life, like with red, white, and blue. Anyway, not without a fight. You'd need to know what was coming, not for us. But Guts is innate, as is manual dexterity. Interestingly, overpower and, what's the other one? Perception are not innate. Inspiring presence, fine to play and then to heal an ally, but you're only healing one, and then it only has one relevant skill icon to commit. I don't think so. Resourceful, if the skill test is successful, choose a survivor card not named resourceful in your discard pile. Add the chosen card to your hand. I mean, that's got to be good. You can pull Look What I Found's back. You can pull Lucky's back. You can pull... I'm just thinking of things that aren't assets, because we've kind of got assets covered with William Yorick. I think Resourceful seems very, very strong. Let's include 2 of that. But that's only 2 of the 3 cards that the innate bring backer would bring back, so let's find some other ones. Rise to the occasion. Commit only to a skill test you're performing, and only if the difficulty of that test is at least 2 higher than your base skill value. How often is this going to be useful for us? It's really, really hard to gauge. It commits for 3 wild, and that's the important bit. Again, like all these, like this and something like Not Without a Fight, I feel like you're always comparing them against an unexpected courage. That's the reference, in the same way that the 45 automatic is a reference for firearms. And how often is Rise to the Occasion going to be more useful and actually playable than something like an unexpected courage? How often do we attempt those really, really difficult challenges? Not that often. And if it's at least 2 higher than our base skill value, that means that we would only succeed on anything like a -1 or better. I think that makes sense. And those are not good odds. I get how it could come in useful, but I don't think for us. Stroke of Luck, Innate Fortune, is a wild icon. Commit only to a skill test you are performing. After revealing chaos tokens for this test, you may choose to exile. Oh, Stroke of Luck. If you do, this test is automatically successful unless an auto-fail token's revealed. Obviously, the exile part of that turns me off to it instantly, but I don't really think the rest of the card is that strong. Hang on, let me just, I'm going to close my eyes and click on recommendations. 2%, I feel vindicated. I'm not missing any strongness. Let's go back onto card list. Don't think I'm missing any strongness. Survival Instinct. If this skill test, we know what the base version does. What does the upgraded version do? Well, it commits for 2 boot. That's something different. May immediately evade each. So the difference is the level 0 immediately disengages from each other enemy engaged with him or her, and the upgraded version immediately evades all the enemies, which could actually be really strong. But how often are we going to be wanting to run away from a load of enemies with Yorick and not just bash them in? Unexpected Courages, though, I usually include 2 of those in our deck. That does mean, so we got 4 in total out of the innate skills. Do we include a Guts? Maybe 1, maybe 2. It does mean that the card that we were looking at, which was what? Was it True Survivor? Yes, that means maybe including 1 of them could be good. We're not going to get through enough cards to include 2 versions of True Survivor to make that useful, I don't think. But pulling our Resourcefuls back, might that be nice? It's kind of expensive. Let's include them in our side deck so that we remember anyway. Waylay. What is this? Is she playing baseball? Hey, it's Wendy, and she is not playing baseball. What is that? Is it like she's got a lantern and is that like a kopesh? I guess it is a kopesh, and then this kind of looks Egyptian-y, sandstone bricks. Anyway, Waylay and she's whacked something with horns on her head. Waylay is a 3-cost tactic. You choose an exhausted, non-elite enemy at your location and test boot X, where X is the enemy's evade value. Usually that's like 2, 3, 4. If you succeed, defeat that enemy. This is cool, but it already has to be exhausted. Which means probably it's quite heavy on actions. We'd already had to have spent an action to exhaust it, to evade it, and then we have to spend another action and 3 resources to kill it. Again, man, we'd be whacking it. We'd be whacking it with knives and machetes and things, I think. So, no is the answer. What about Will to Survive? This was cool. We saw it on Wendy. 4 cost, 3 experience, so it is expensive in all ways. It's a spirit. Fast, you play only during your turn. Until the end of your turn, do not reveal chaos tokens for any skill tests you perform. The idea of this is interesting enough that I straight away include it in the side deck. Having a turn where you don't have to test for anything and you know exactly what's going to happen could be very, very strong. And if you did include it, I imagine you'd want to include maybe just a one-off, I think is very, very expensive. Right, on to the skills. We said Not Without a Fight was not for us, or it's Desperate Search. I see 4 icons and I'm intrigued. Desperate, 4 book, max 1 committed per skill test. Commit to a skill test only if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. Well, shit, not for William Yorick. A cool idea though. You know, the kind of last gasp type thing. It's fascinating. No Desperate Search. Guts. We said earlier that we probably don't care about boosting our head tests too much, and if we were going to do it, we'd do it with Brother Xavier or Peter Sylvester anyway. Maybe it's a 1 of, or maybe it's a 2 of. God, it's so tempting because, like, what if a Crypt Chill comes out and we have to throw... Well, if Crypt Chill comes out, we have to throw away an asset, but with William Yorick, we get it back at some point. An interesting idea. Let's include 2 of it now, with the idea that we're probably going to get rid of it. Inspiring Presence, I just don't see it being useful. Leadership, nor do I see that being too useful, especially not for Akachi. She's already crazy strong on the head. Manual Dexterity, how often do we want to be running away? Probably not that often, really. Overpowers, how often do we want to be shoring up our fist? Well, we'd be using a weapon, so we'd at least have +1 fist, perhaps +2 if it was a knife, taking us up to 5 and 6. We'd also have a beat cop, taking us up to 6 or 7. 6 or 7 is, enemies are like what, 3, 4, 5s if they're scary. 6 or 7 is probably good enough. We don't really have to include something like an overpower. Going to include it anyway because it's cool artwork and I like the idea of it, but not for us. Now, Perception, definitely not. Reckless Assault, let's say all of them, all of this suite, are not for William Yorick. The same with Run for Your Life and Say Your Prayers. They're all sanity. They're all, 3 or fewer remaining sanity. Resourceful, we've already included 2 versions of that. Rise to the Occasion, we said no to. Stroke of Luck, we said no to. Same with Survival Instinct. Vicious Blow, though. Vicious Blow, my old friend. Don't know why I say that like I've played it many times. I actually haven't, but it is very useful when it's come up. And put the upgraded version in our side deck. That is the end of William Yorick's initial run of deck building. 51 out of 30. Not bad, to be honest, not bad. I think we can definitely whittle that down without too much stress about what we're going to lose. But let's move on to Akachi. Now then, Akachi, what are we going to do with you? The first thing I want to do, I said we would before, is check what cards we're able to use outside of the Mystic 0 to 5 because of... Right, we're back and we're on Akachi Onyeli. It's amazing how taxing talking straight for such a long period of time is on your body. It's not going down the mines or anything, but your voice goes steadily higher as your throat becomes more snatched. Not snatched in like the, ooh, snatched queen, but your throat becomes tighter and weaker and just exhausted or fatigued. I had to go outside and walk around and do some deep breathing and like chest expansion exercises, and I still feel kind of tight. But anyway, I'm powering through it because I want to get this done today before I do my other things. Akachi Onyeli, what did we say we were going to do first? We said we were going to, just because I'm a curious kind of guy, we check out what cards we're gaining access to with uses, charges, and also the occult cards, if that makes any sense. So let's throw occult. Oh, it's just archaic glyphs. Well, that's that curiosity satisfied. What about uses, charges? Game text, charges. Well, we obviously had access to all the mystic ones. Arcane Insight, very expensive, 4 experience, 3 cost spell, does take up a spell slot. It would have 4 charges on us as a free action or fast or lightning bolt, whatever. It's fast or no, it's lightning bolt. While an investigator is taking his or her turn, spend a charge. Your location gets -2 shroud until the end of the turn. I see. Limit once per turn. If we took Akachi's turn first, we use this, William Yorick, but it's at your location. We don't need it to help out Akachi's investigations, I don't think, because we're using our head to deal with that because of Right of Seeking. But is it worth a spell slot just to help out William Yorick get clues? Probably not, I would say. How often are those conditions going to align. You're both in the same location. Akachi goes first and has other things to do with her actions and time than investigating with head. And William Yorick hasn't got anything to fight. Because really, William Yorick, as more of a fighter or our tank, is going to be going into locations as the vanguard to see what's there. All that to say, Arcane Insight, we're probably not going to play it. The upgraded versions of archaic glyphs, this is cool, we'll have a look at these in a second. And also, just suggestion, this is also a spell, 3 cost and 4 experience. It would have 4 charges because of Akachi's investigator ability. Spend an action to exhaust it, evade. Add your head value to your skill value for this evasion attempt. If you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1 charge from suggestion. It's like lockpicks. It's like a version. It's like another side to lockpicks. Forced, when a non-elite enemy would attack you, spend 1 charge to cancel that attack. That's pretty cool. Is it worth taking up a spell slot? Thing is, you get 2 spell slots, right? One of them is going to be, we have upgraded Rite of Seeking and upgraded Shrivelings. You're always going to want to have a Rite of Seeking and a Shriveling out because you want to fight and you want to investigate. So I don't think a spell slot to evade is going to be worth it. Now, is there anything in the permanence, where charisma is, and what does this do? Okay, it doesn't add, I thought one of them might add spell slots in the same way that charisma and relic hunter add slots. Alright, suggestion, we're probably not going to include it, but let's go back to normal deck building. So, this archaic glyphs, what does it do? It's a hand asset. We'll start on hand assets. It is one of those researchy items, which I love. It is a version of a Wooga for me. It is an item occult tome, 0 cost to put into play. You discard a card with at least 1 book skill icon from your hand. Place 1 resource on archaic glyphs from the totem pool as a secret. Forced, after the 3rd secret is placed on archaic glyphs, discard it and gain 5 resources. Record in your campaign log that you have translated the glyphs. Okay, so it starts off in your hand, and then they finish off in your spell slots. It's kind of worse for us. Are either of these going to be worth taking up a spell slot? Let's think about this. Guiding Stones. Cost 2, cost 3 experience as well. You spend a charge to investigate for every 2 points you succeed by. Discover 1 additional clue. How often are we going to be succeeding by 2 or more on a normal investigate action? It's not going to happen. What about Prophecy Foretold, then? Spend a charge, investigate. If you succeed, you may automatically evade an engaged enemy. This attack does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Our decisions have been made for us, I feel. What about just the base? If we just had this every time and kept it around, it's just economy, right? But is it good economy? 1 action to play it, 3 actions to... Okay, the answer is no, it's not good economy. Right, don't worry about archaic glyphs. I do hate to see a new untranslated card from a cycle that we haven't seen before go unused, but I think we'd just be sabotaging ourselves, unfortunately. Book of Shadows. It does cost experience, so we can't put it in straight away, but what does it do? 3 cost, item tome. Use an action, once you've already played it into your hand. Exhaust Book of Shadows and spend 1 resource. Add 1 charge to a spell asset you control. Oof, doesn't feel good. Maybe it would be better on someone that wasn't Akachi. What's the upgraded? Aha! You have 1 additional arcane slot. Right, but you're swapping an arcane slot for a hand slot. Not sure I like that, to be honest. Maybe a one-off, but I don't see us using the unupgraded version. You have to have it in your hand, man. It just sucks. Flashlight, no. We want to use our spells to investigate. Grotesque statue. Apparently, we could have seen this in the core set, but we wouldn't have seen it, I guess, because we didn't have access to Mystic Force. Uses, 5 charges, because they were catchy. If it has no charges, discard it. As a reaction, when you would reveal a Chaos token, spend a charge. Reveal 2 Chaos tokens instead of 1. Choose 1 of these tokens to resolve. Yes, is the answer to this. Put them in the side deck. It does mean, I would say this is a better hand slot than Book of Shadows. So at the moment, we've got 1 full up of Grotesque Statue at some point later on in the scenarios. What about our others? No knife, no cookery. Ritual candles. 1 cost item. After a symbol is revealed during a test you're performing, you get +1 skill value for this test. I don't see how. It's after a symbol as well, which is like what? Skull, cultist tablet, elder sign, elder thing. I don't know how often that is going to be the deciding factor on a roll. Tell you what, we include it for now because we've got nothing else to put in our hand, basically. And should we just include a flashlight and then just replace them as soon as possible, potentially, because we, might as well fill our hand slots. I don't see this being the deciding factor. I just don't see how often that +1 from a symbol as well. The conditions are too strict. Spirit Atame, if that's how you say that. Item, relic, weapon, melee. 3 cost, and it does cost an experience. As a lightning bolt during a skill test on a spell card, exhaust Spirit Atame, you get +2 skill value for this test. Now this is more inviting. You can also spend an action and exhaust it to fight, and you get +2 fist for that attack. That's pretty cool too, because it takes us to 5 fist, which is nothing to sniff at. No bonus damage, but its primary use is not as a weapon. We're going to be fighting with spells. So this is a yes. This is something we do want to upgrade into, definitely. Now for accessories. We do have access to Relic Hunter, all the way down here. Where is it? We do have access to that. So technically, at some point, we could have 3 accessories on show. Holy Rosary. Head is our bread and butter, so definitely include this. This is our starter. Now, which out of these other ones do we want to include? Elder Sign Amulet, probably not. We don't care about Horror Soak. Easy decision there. Jewel of Aureolus. Sounds like a code name for a nipple. This is a 3 cost, 3 experience gift of the homunculi. It is an item relic. After a symbol is revealed during a skill test at your location, exhaust Jewel of Aureolus, draw 1 card or gain 2 resources. How often do symbols get revealed? Is it like sort of 1 out of... I know that the Chaos Bag changes per scenario, but is it like 1 of... or changes throughout the campaign? It's like a 1 in... I feel like it's about a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 4 chance. So is that worth it? Is that worth the slot? And is it worth the experience? And is it worth the cost? And is it worth the necessity of a Relic Hunter as well? Maybe 2 Relic Hunters, because maybe we want to just have 2 Holy Rosaries out at the same time and then a +1. It's an interesting idea. I don't think it's going to be core to our build, but I will include it in the side deck. And the Key of Ys, now this could be more useful on Akachi, to be honest. She is gonna... No. No, it's not, I don't think. When any amount of horror has been placed on, you place 1 of that horror on Key of Ys. There's something about this card. The cost is obviously quite prohibitive, but there's something about this card I just don't like the look of. Honestly, it might be... I am fickle enough that this might be just that it's not a purple card. The neutral cards always seem less inviting to me, like Flashlight looks rubbish. Ritual Candles look sick. Not Key of Ys, St. Hubert's Key. You get +1 head, +1 book, and -2 sanity. Cleansing Fire. 4 cost item Charm. Is a reaction when you would be defeated by horror. Discard St. Hubert's Key, immediately heal 2 horror. Well, how often is that going to happen? How often is that going to happen? And do we want the book boosted? Probably not, really. If we were to take accessories that weren't Holy Rosary, would it be St. Hubert's Key or would it be our nipple necklace? I think it would probably be the card draw from Jewel of Aureolus rather than boosting... I mean, the head boost is nice, but you get that from Holy Rosary. The book boost is pretty inconsequential, I think. Is St. Hubert's Key just a better version of Holy Rosary? It doesn't have any soak. I think... Okay, I'm going to type in Hubert. And I think this will be a low percentage. I'm going to close my eyes. Have a look. 11%. All right. Go back to the card list. Close my eyes. And then Rosary, I think, will be 70%. 76%. All right. I feel vindicated with that. I thought maybe I was missing something. I don't believe I am. No include St. Hubert's Key for us. No include St. Hubert's Key for us. That's an interesting way of phrasing that. On to our allies. Alyssa Graham is a speaker to the dead. Well, we read through these when we were talking about that card where you... What was it called? Like, where you borrow an ally from someone else. We don't want Alyssa Graham, we said. We do want Arcane Initiates, 2 of those, and we didn't want David Renfield, but we thought we might want the upgraded version of the Arcane Initiate. Or do we? Her Horror Soak is better, but you can choose whether you want 2 horror on her to start off anyway. Well, let's put it in the side deck. So no David Renfield, no Red Gloved Man. That's a pretty easy decision there. It also means, by the look of it, we won't need to include charismas. Well, rather exciting, or maybe just one charisma, if we had an opportunity to get both out at once, to look for our spells. Onto the arcane slots. Now, there are a lot of these. There are less than there initially seem, because there are repeats. There are 3 versions of Rite of Seeking, 2 of Scrying, 3 of Shriveling. Show. Alchemical Transmutation. 1-cost spell, would have 4 charges, spend an action to exhaust it, spend a charge, test 1 head. For each point you succeed by, gain 1 resource to a maximum of 3. So it's economy. If a symbol's revealed during this test, take 1 damage. The problem is, like I said earlier, we have 2 spell slots, maybe 3 with that book in our hand. So realistically, Rite of Seeking, investigate with head instead of in book, and you get an additional clue if you succeed. That takes up 1 slot, and then Shriveling takes up the other, because we need this to fight. You fight with head and you deal +1 damage. I just don't see a use. I don't see an economy card being a worthwhile either replacement for either of these, or a worthwhile 3rd slot. Arcane Insight, we said this was probably not for us, or not for this investigator combo. Same with the archaic glyphs. Clarity of Mind. This is a horror healing spell. We're not worried about Akachi taking too much horror. She has 8, and she has some soak in her allies and in the Holy Rosary. Not worth it. I think if we do take any horror healing, it will be in an event or a skill, not in an asset that takes up a slot. Now, what are the upgrades for Rite of Seeking and Shriveling? I'm intrigued. The 2 experience, Rite of Seeking, gives you +2 head for this test. The level 4 version costs more. I don't think we've seen that when they're upgraded, they cost more. You discover 2 additional clues at your location if you're successful. All right, it is sick. What about Shriveling? Shriveling level 3 gives you +2 head when you're fighting. That's cool. And then Shriveling level 5 gives you +3 head, and you deal +2 damage for this attack, which is very, very good. But you take 2 horror if a symbol's revealed instead. Could get kind of nasty, but I understand it. Right, now we want to throw these Rite of Seekings into the side deck, I think. We don't need to jog our memory on this, but I'm just trying to keep consistent. Scrying. What does Scrying do? It is a 1-cost spell that's cheap. It would have 4 charges. You exhaust it for an action, and you spend a charge. Look at the top 3 cards of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. Return them to the top of that deck in any order. It's a fine idea. It is obviously a useful ability. And what's the upgrade? It's a lightning bolt, and there's like a spot the difference exercise. Return them to the top of the deck in any order. And then it's also got the if a terror or omen card is among the looked at cards, take 1 horror. That's cool. Is that worse? It's kind of, there's a trade-off. You're not spending the action anymore, but if you reveal certain cards, you take a horror. Although, you might want to kill off, where is she? You might want to kill off this Arcane Initiate or something. That might be it. Or Renfield with Doom. I think the combo could be, although you can't rely on it, Scrying and then draw a terror or omen and then kill David Renfield if he had a couple of Doom on him. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into Doom management. Is Scrying worth including? For now, let's say yes, but let's look at these other spells, and maybe one of them will be worth including instead. Song of the Dead, 2 cost, 2 experience, spell and song. It would have 6 charges. You spend an action to spend a charge and fight. This attack uses head instead of fist. We've seen that before on Shriveling. You get +1 head for this attack, but you don't get any bonus damage. If a skull symbol is revealed, this attack deals 2 damage. Sorry, +2 damage, 3 in total. No, too unreliable, I think. And for an experience cost, and also taking up a spell slot, it's a no. This suggestion, we've been through this earlier. I just don't think it's worth the spell slot. Right, so looked at all of them. Out of everything, I think Scrying is probably the one we would rather include if we had an extra spell slot from Book of Shadows. But if we look at this, in our hand, we're going to want a grotesque statue and a spirit Atame, are we not? I don't think we're ever going to include Book of Shadows to get that additional arcane slot. Let's get rid of it. Let's say our decision's been made for us. Now, does that mean we want to only include Rite of Seeking and Shriveling? Maybe if we pull a Scrying early, we can use it to pull the Shriveling and pull the Rite of Seeking. I think Scrying, we might get rid of it early, to be honest. Early in the deck building. process. Anyway, we're done with the arcane slots. Ooh, body is only bulletproof vest and fine clothes. Well, bulletproof vest might be good to upgrade into because Akachi only has 6 HP. Fine clothes, is this an opportunity to play it? If we were parlaying, it would take the difficulty down by 2. Akachi only has 2 to start off with. It's kind of rubbish. I think we got to do it. Just because there's nothing else to put on our body. And I like having all the slots. I like having an option for all the slots. It might be suboptimal, but onto the no slot assets. Now, Arcane Studies, it's in that weird suite where we can never find a use for it, or it never feels efficient to play this. But would it be worthwhile on Akachi? It would shore her up she doesn't investigate with book. I'm going to say no. The willpower or the head would be really nice, but no. Overall, no. Forbidden Knowledge. I remember looking at this when I was just looking through the revised core set cards. Who on earth is playing this? Well, there will be a deck where it is core and the most important card in the deck and everything revolves around it, but it is not this deck. Grounded. 1 cost, talent, exposure. Exposure? Composure. It costs an experience point. This is like, was it called? Combat training and the other survivor version that we saw. Non-direct horror must be assigned to grounded before it can be assigned to your investigator card. Yeah. This is actually kind of better. During a skill test on a spell card, spend a resource, you get +1 skill value for this test. That could be nice. It's only going to be boosting head because that's the only tests on our spell cards. But do we need it out? Ooh. I'm more likely to play this than an Arcane Studies. To be fair, it must be assigned to grounded before it can be assigned to your investigator card. The problem is that we don't actually have that much sanity soak. We have 2 arcane initiates, but we're not heavy on our allies, nor are we heavy on sanity soak elsewhere. I think this is too risky to include. I think it might, maybe we play it and use it a couple of times, but then I think it would get removed quite swiftly. Painkillers. Now, actually, what heals damage on William Yorick? Just emergency aid that we've got in the deck. 2 of those, if we keep them, will be enough to stop Akachi dying. But maybe we get rid of them, and then we would take, it's only painkillers. That's the only option. Christ, I'm not so sure about that. Let's include them for now, just in case we don't include emergency aid on William Yorick. But if emergency aid stays, painkillers definitely go. Smoking pipe is the mirror of painkillers, so that's not for us. We don't care about that card. Onto the permanents. Blood Pact. As a fast action, you add 1 Doom to Blood Pact. You get +3 head for this skill test. And add 1 Doom to Blood Pact, you get +3 fist for this skill test. Like, if we include just one of these, an upgrade to it, in the Witching Hour, Akachi's on steroids. She can do what she likes. I think that must be how that works. Head tests, dead easy. Fist tests, dead easy. To do that 1 damage with the, what's it called? Spirit Atame. Yeah, we're happy with that. Charisma we don't need to include. Maybe just a one-off, but not really. Relic Hunter. Have we already done Relic Hunter? No, Relic Hunter would probably just be a one-off as well, but perhaps 2. Let's move 2 to the side deck. Onto events. Astral Travel. 3 cost spell. Move to any revealed location and reveal a random token from the Chaos bag. If you reveal a symbol, you must discard an item or ally asset you control. That could be good to get rid of an Arcane Initiate, but Arcane Initiate we'd probably like to get rid of by soaking sanity damage, really, after we've got our spells out. I think this feels kind of risky. An item or ally, so the items will be the things in our hand or around our neck. I don't like Astral Travel. This is the risk-reward ratio is off in my brain. Bind Monster, 3 cost spell for 2 experience. Evade, uses head instead of boot. That's cool. If you succeed and the enemy is non-elite, evade it and attach Bind Monster to it. As a reaction, when attached enemy would ready, test 3 head. We'd most likely succeed. If you succeed, the attached enemy does not ready. If you fail, discard Bind Monster. Again, how often are we going to be so scared of a non-elite enemy, because you can't use it on elites, that it's worth it to use this card? And it's kind of expensive, 3 resources. Aren't we just going to want to kill them with Shriveling, or kill them with Yorick's weapons. I think this is a no. Blinding Light. Blinding Light level 0 is 2 cost spell. Evade, uses head instead of boot. If you succeed, deal 1 damage to the enemy just evaded. That's cool. If a symbol's revealed, lose an action this turn. I don't immediately see it as being that valuable, but what's the upgrade? If you succeed, deal 2 damage to the enemy just evaded, and it's a bit cheaper. If a symbol's revealed, you lose an action this turn and take 1 horror. It's a maybe, and if we do include it, we include the upgrade. I don't think it's crazy strong though, and this will get whittled out, I believe. Calling in favors, no, we definitely don't need that. Delve Too Deeps, say no more, awooga. A reminder of Delve Too Deep, it's a way to... The game becomes slightly more dangerous because each investigator draws a card from the encounter deck, but you get a victory point, so it's a way of exchanging long-term deck upgrade value or potential for like short-term danger. Anyway, obviously 2 of those doesn't even have to be talked about. 2 Drawn to the Flame, remember this from Gunnitch on Zoe. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Very standardly decent. Emergency caches, I almost don't think we need emergency caches. Nothing so far is very expensive, and normally the most expensive parts of a deck are the assets, and we've done all of those. But what will come into our deck is a Grotesque Statue and a Spirit Atame, and they are slightly more expensive than what we've got in our hands at the moment. Then a Jewel of Aureolus is also slightly more expensive. Right of Seeking does become more expensive later on. Maybe like a one-of Emergency Cache, but again, I think it's just going to get whittled out, to be honest. Hypnotic Gaze. 3 cost spell, fast. Play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location, cancel that attack. Then reveal a token from the bag. If it has a symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. You know what, that could be cool. If we used the Grotesque Statue's ability, it means that we're doubly as likely to draw a symbol, and then we could counterattack it. It's not bad. Again, it just might get whittled out, I think, but I understand at least somewhat the value of it. Mind Wipe, 1 cost and 1 experience cost, spell. Play after a phase begins. Choose a non-elite enemy at your location. Treat the chosen enemy's printed text box as if it were blank until the end of the phase. Right. It's cool. Is it a deck-techy thing where you need to know what's coming? Probably not, because I think there are enough enemies that you want to take away their abilities. To include this, I think, obviously goes in the side deck, because it costs experience. Moment of Respite was the horror healing card from earlier. Not necessary. I don't think. We have 8 horror, we have some soak on Arcane Initiate. Actually, I'd say this is more useful on Akachi than William Yorick for sure. And the idea of healing horror and drawing a card is nice. You'd be annoyed if you needed it and you didn't include a one-off, so perhaps we'll add it later on. Moonlight Ritual. 0 cost spell insight. Simply remove all doom from 1 card you control. If we were playing David Renfield, maybe, is there ever going to be a time the Arcane Initiate's going to have 1 doom on them? It's annoying. Is it worth putting Moonlight Ritual into our deck just for Arcane Initiate with 1 doom on her? Probably not. Let's skip it. But I bet there are decks later on where Moonlight Ritual is phenomenal. We just haven't got there yet. The card pool isn't there. Maybe it'll be in there. Maybe these cards will reveal something. Quantum Flux. 1 cost insight. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck and draw 1 card. Remove Quantum Flux from the game. It's a cool idea. Means you can choose when you recycle your deck. That's fine. The thing is, with Akachi, with her Spirit Speaker, these spells don't necessarily run out in the same way that they would. So they're not going to be in the discard pile. What is? Arcane Initiates? Maybe, but if we've already found the spells, Arcane Initiate is fairly useless. I don't think Quantum Flux is for us here. Recharge. 0 cost, but it does cost 2 experience to put into your deck. Spell. Choose a spell or relic asset controlled by an investigator at your location, well, it will be us, really, and reveal a random chaos token from the chaos bag. If you reveal a symbol, discard the chosen asset. Otherwise, add 3 charges to the chosen asset. Well, this, look at me, I'm thinking of synergy. It could just replenish Grotesque Statue. So with Grotesque Statue's last charge, you could replenish it with a recharge and then it's full up, which is right, I think. So 2 of those go in the side deck. And then I guess we can put charges back on Rite of Seeking or Shriveling if we wanted to, but I think I think the synergy there is recharging grotesque statue. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Storm of Spirits. 3-cost spell, you fight. This attack uses head instead of fist. It's a theme of Mystic. If you succeed, instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy at the attacked enemy's location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. What is that? Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. I'm missing something there. If those symbols are revealed during this attack, deal 1 damage to each investigator at the attacked enemy's location. It's a Mystic dynamite in a very vague, in not a particularly accurate way. Well, it's a way of dealing with swarms of enemies. I like the idea of it. Don't think it's deck techy to include it because you can assume, if it was dealing 1 damage to all enemies at the location, that would be you'd only include it when there was a scenario with, I don't know, 5 rats that will regularly spawn at the same time. But because it's 2 damage, I think that's useful even in like a non-chaff enemy situation. 2 damage is good against anything. Time Warp, 1-cost spell Paradox. Paradox, haven't seen that before. It does cost 2 experience. Fast, play immediately after an investigator at your location finishes resolving an action during his or her turn. Undo that action. Sick. Return the game state to exactly the way it was before that action was performed, except for the playing of Time Warp and its costs. That's cool. I like that. Do I like it enough to include it? Well, it goes in the side deck to start off with anyway. Not sure about adding it. I'm not sure how useful. I'm not sure how often you would be in a situation where you wanted to undo the last thing you did. You'd sort of rather want to plan to never be in that situation. But, I guess best laid plans than that. Uncage the Soul. 0-cost spirit. Play a spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. Hello. Feels like. Now, how many rituals are there? Oh, just Spirit Speaker. Well, it does make Rite of Seeking cheaper, as so it does Shriveling. I think, what are its icons, actually? 2 head, so it's kind of like a guts if we've already got our spells out. I think that means we can include 2 of them, really. Ward of Protections, auto-include. As a reminder, you play it when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. You cancel that card's revelation effect, then you take 1 horror. Pretty standard Mystic card. Got some upgrades for it as well, though. The level 2, what's the difference? When an investigator at any location, so we can use this if Yorick draws a card, a bad card that we want to cancel. The level 5, I love seeing the level 5 cards because they must be transformative to a deck. Well, that's what you imagine. This is, interestingly, it takes away the location flexibility. You can't use it on other investigators. It's weird. It takes away when you upgrade it. But you cancel all of that card's effect and discard it. Then you take 1 horror. I see. Almost, I would say, the level 2, I'm not going to say it's better because that's like an objective and subjective truth type deal. I think the level 2, at least for this investigator combo, is probably more. We're more likely to stop at level 2 than to carry on and upgrade to level 5. Maybe a 1 of each, actually. Anyway, those are what were those? The events. These are the skills. We have Defiance, which is innate. Has a wild skill icon to commit. Before revealing chaos tokens for this test, choose one of the following symbols: Skull, Cultist, Tablet, or Elder Thing. Ignore the effects of the chosen symbol during this test. That's cool. I don't know how often we're likely. They added it in the Dunwich Legacy, so if they'd have added it in Path to Carcosa, I would have been like, ooh, they're giving you a card to solve a really nasty symbol that comes along at some point. But I'm less likely to feel like that because it was introduced last cycle. I don't think this is going to make it to our final deck, but we'll include it just in case there are no other useful skills. Now, this suite again is only useful when you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. We don't ever want to be there, so we don't include them, I think. Fearless. Cool artwork. Fantastic artwork, actually. Look at that. I mean, it gets less cool when you zoom in, but it's still very well done. It's like a cleric or a cultist with a lantern and a rifle, and then there are tentacles, and he's shining something at the night sky, I think. Only by standing firm against the darkness can we live to see the light of another day. Hot damn. It has an upgrade, and that does influence how likely we are to keep it in our deck. The base version is innate, and it only commits for 1 head. If this skill test is successful, heal 1 horror. That's kind of meh, but then you look at the upgrade, innate and developed. Now, I don't know how important that addition of the word will be. Commits for 2 head now, so it's like a guts. If the skill test is successful, heal 1 horror, that's the same. 2 horror instead if it succeeds by 2 or more. Now this interests me much more than the level 0, so let's include it. Kind of means that we don't need to include guts, or we're less likely to need to include guts, even though guts feels like it would be a central card to our deck. Let's include it, but potentially whittling it down afterwards. Manual dexterity. How often are we going to need to run away? Do we have anything to help us run away other than that? A 2 of, I think, and maybe we'll take that down to a 1 in the final deck. Overpower, no. Perception, maybe for some parlaying. I think that's not wishful thinking, but I think we are focusing too much on a situation that might not even happen, so let's no perceptions. Reckless assault, run for your life, say your prayers, no. Seal of the Elder Sign, spell expert commits for 1 wild. Do not reveal chaos tokens from the chaos bag for this test. Treat the chaos token, do not reveal chaos tokens, but treat the chaos token revealed. I guess it just means you have an Elder Sign. Weird wording though, because I'm trying to really pay attention to the wording because I know it's so important for a lot of the rules. And there are some little finicky bits, but I think that is more. I've made that more complicated than I needed to. When this test ends, remove Seal of the Elder Sign from the game. Very interesting. Goes in our side deck for sure. Torrent of Power. Practiced commits for 1 wild. As an additional cost to commit Torrent of Power to a skill test, spend up to 3 charges from among assets you control. For each charge spent in this way, Torrent of Power gains a head and a wild icon. It's cool. I guess you'd be more likely to use it towards the end of scenarios when you had charges left that you knew you weren't going to need. Maybe it's a one-off. An unexpected courage, let's include 2 of those for now, as we always do. 46 out of 30, this is very manageable I'm just going to have to say whittle down again. I can't think of any other phrases. Separate the wheat from the chaff. Only have to remove 16. I'm happy with that. Let's do William Yorick's first, because then we know whether to include painkillers in Akachi's deck. Right. William Yorick, you have 12 hand assets. This is insane. Let's remove all these parameters. Let's just reset it. 12 hand assets is insane. What do we get rid of? Well, 45 automatic stays, I think, because we have an upgrade path for it to get more fist value. We can recur it so we get the ammo back. It feels very, very, not cheap and cheerful, but like standard and good enough, and you can add more interesting things to other assets, but still the old faithful 45 automatic is the way we go. Flashlight and newspaper. The interesting thing about newspaper was the upgrade, wasn't it? What was that? When you would discover 1 or more clues at your location, if you have no clues, discover an additional 1. Yeah, I see the value, but it just taking up a hand slot is, I think, a no for us. Now, 1 of knife or machete we'll get rid of. Probably. I mean, it's one of those where in this case, although William Yorick has made knife more desirable to me, I have a feeling machete is still better anyway. But because we have an opportunity to play knife, I think we should seize that with both hands. Ironically, as he's wielding that with 1. But I think we should take the opportunity just for what would you say, deck variation. Now, I think 8 hand assets is still too high, so either get rid of Flashlight or Gravedigger's Shovel. Gravedigger's Shovel for that testless clue, or test full clues on a -2 shroud location. I actually think Gravedigger's Shovel goes, and I find that quite sad. I find it quite sad because it's thematic to William Yorick, and we already got rid of Lantern, and it feels like a real shame that they're not included. But I just feel like 1 testless clue once for 2 resources. You have to keep recurring it when you might want to recur a knife that you use to kill the enemy that you're using to trigger the recur ability on your investigator card. I have a feeling that might start to become quite unpleasant or anti-fun somehow. Cherished Keepsake, that's obviously fine. Allies, starting off with a beat cop and a guard dog, that does feel like the way to go. Then upgrading the guard dog into Aquina Maybe the level 1 version first, I'm not sure. Let's include both, actually. And then, with our third slot later on when we have a charisma, either a Brother Xavier or Peter Sylvester. This all seems fine. Body slot leather coat, also fine. Now, we have a lot of events. The question was, by the way, do we want to include 2 copies of all these assets that we might be recurring? I think the answer is yes, just because we'd like to get them out as early as possible. Onto events, we have 22 of them. That is a large number when 30 is our deck size limit. We're keeping, look what I found. I know that. Let's get rid of Dynamite Blast. Let's say, do we keep Emergency Aid? That's the question. Do we keep... Oh god, there's so many. Tell you what, I think we get rid of Mano a Mano. We can do Teslas damage with Beat Cop, Guard Dog, later on with Brother Xavier. Is it Brother Xavier or Brother Xavier? Anyway, Aquin is going to be doing damage Teslessly as well. Yeah, I think... Why even was I talking about that? Oh, we were talking about... There's a lot going on. It was Tesla's damage, wasn't it? It was Mano a Mano. That's what we were getting rid of. Yeah, we get rid of Mano a Mano. I think we keep prepared for the worst. I think it's very important that we find these weapons at the start of the game. Lucky, I also think we keep now Hiding Spot. I think Akachi can hold her own. So I think we remove Hiding Spot. Now we're 10 over. We're getting there. A dodge. It's for Akachi's sake, again, so is there anything that Akachi's got? She has this hypnotic gaze. You cancel that attack. I think a one-of dodge is fine. And I also think, to whittle some cards down, a one-of Cherished Keepsake and a one-of Leather Coat is also fine. I guess it's kind of risky, because then we could go through the whole scenario and they could be right at the bottom of the deck. No, I think they are actually two copies of each, unfortunately. I hoped we'd found a bit of a loophole there. Heroic, how many are we down? How many are we up? We need to get rid of 10. We're not getting rid of Vicious Blow, probably not Unexpected Courage, probably not Overpower, but I think we can get rid of Guts. How many head icons have we got? Ooh, 11. Oh, 11 is not bad. It looks bad because we've got 22 combat ones and 16 intellect. We need to keep emergency cash because of the recursion, so we are going to be expending a fair amount of resources. Although, are we? Yes, we are. Let's keep the emergency caches. They've also got upgrade paths to them. Keep the emergency aids to heal Akachi. Oh man, it's tricky. How are we going to take 10 cards out of this? I don't think, let me handle this, I don't think we need it. Let's say that. I also don't think we need Overpowers and Guts. I think we take a one-of. Oh, I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that second Guts. How are we going to get 7 cards out of this? Heroic Rescue is really cool, but actually let's take one of it. Then we have one of that and one of Dodge. And I think that's enough cards dedicated to protecting another investigator, which means maybe we just want a one-of Emergency Aid as well. We've got 3 cards now that are there to throw in front of Akachi so she doesn't take HP damage. Is that too much? That's the question. Maybe, and then do we need the evidences, or is Akachi going to get enough clues by herself? I think it is almost too good to get rid of. We're 5 cards over. What are we gonna chuck away? Let's say we get rid of 1 Prepared for the Worst. We get rid of 1 Flashlight. I think that's the way. And then maybe 1 knife. We get rid of 1 knife. The thing is, once we've found 1 copy of any of these assets, we've kind of found all the copies we need to find of them because you can keep recurring it. It does mean there is a part of me that thinks you include 1 of these cards. I think it's pretty important to have 2 copies of 45 automatic and 2, maybe you include 1 knife as well. I think you include 1 knife. I think that's the way we get around this. We're 2 cards over. Shit. Which ones? Which ones do we get rid of? How expensive are our cards? There are 4 cards of full cost, and we're going to be playing them multiple times, potentially. Do we get rid of 1 Guard Dog? Yeah. There's no real logic behind these decisions. And then do we get rid of an Unexpected Courage, and we say that's, Okay, the good thing about dodges is it can be used on elites, but so can Hypnotic Gaze. Okay, that helps actually with the whittling down. We don't care about dodge. Dodge is the final card that we needed to get rid of. This is to me, an acceptable deck, I think. It is a bit weird with all these wands scattered around. I feel that makes it more interesting than just having 2 of everything anyway. And we're going to get rid of some of these cards to upgrade into all of our allies, because we need 3 ally slots for that. Good enough. Let's say good enough. We don't save it yet, actually. Knowing that William Yorick has emergency aid does mean we can get rid of painkillers on Akachi, I think. So we're now 44 out of 30. Well, all our spells are staying. The ally is staying. The accessories are staying. Hand slots are staying. We could get a one-off for these, potentially. Fine clothes probably stays. They're not optimal, but I said before that I like having things to fill all the body slots, so they might just have to stay for that reason instead. Blinding light. This is to evade with head instead of boot. I mean, her evade is 3, which isn't bad. How often are we going to want to evade? Well, maybe... I don't think we need 2 manual dexterities and 2 blinding lights. That's something. Man, it's tricky. It is tricky. I think blinding light is better because it deals 1 damage to the enemy. We're keeping Delve Too Deeps. We're keeping Drawn to the Flames. We're keeping emergency caches. We're keeping Hypnotic Gaze for potential boss dodging and just general defensiveness. We're keeping Storm of Spirits to deal with multiple enemies. We're keeping Uncage the Soul because it's kind of like a Guts, which does mean we can get rid of Guts. We're keeping Water Protection. We have 10 cards to get rid of. Shit. I mean, Fearless stays. I almost think that Unexpected Courage could just go completely. We're really only testing with head on everything. 8 cards to go. How the hell am I going to get 8 cards out of this deck? I feel like Hypnotic Gaze should go, but I love the idea of it. I think Defiance goes. Fearless has to stay. Torrent of Power goes, but then we only have 1 skill, and how often do you see that? William Yorick has a lot of skills. It's all these events, really. I mean, do we need a scrying? We're only... this is a good point. We're not going to include extra arcane slots, so these 2 scryings can go. We can take them away. That helps. That helps a little bit. We can also remove the blinding lights from the side deck. It helps a little bit, and we're 34 out of 30. Now, 4 cards to get rid of. What about getting rid of those emergency caches? In effect, Uncage the Souls are emergency caches that also can be used as head commit icons. Let's do that. We're 2 over now. Why did I remove Blinding Light, actually? We do have... Let's put that back in the side deck at least. Man, it's really tricky. Yes, Flashlight and yes, Ritual Candles are both kind of bad, but they're almost placeholders. So at some point, there will be another card replacing them. So even though they're bad, we don't really want to clear out space using them. Or if we do clear out space, we know that the space that we get from clearing them out is going to be replaced at some point in the future anyway. So it's kind of a bit of a fool's errand. The deck thinning has to come from over on the right side. It could come from fine clothes, to be honest. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they've got to go. I was really looking forward to parlaying with some things. This is good. This is fine. We save. We don't want to overthink it too much. We need to add our random basic weaknesses, actually. Let's do Yorick's. He has a choice. We're going to do this drafting feature that we always do. Silver Twilight Acolyte is a bit annoying because it has 3 HP, actually. It would take 2 actions to deal with. Losing cards would suck. Would really suck. Overzealous. You draw the top card of the encounter deck, that card gains Surge. This is interesting. I mean, you thin out the encounter deck, but I think Yorick can deal with whatever comes out of there. It's a choice between getting rid of Amnesia or a 3-cost, a 3-health enemy that we need to deal with. This will take 2 actions to deal with often, but maybe a Beat Cop could help us. I think Amnesia is actually the worst, so we'll get rid of that. We've got Silver Twilight Acolyte, that's fine. Then let's go back into the edit and do Akachi's. Akachi also has access to Overzealous. Indebted would kind of... indebted would suck. Is it more scary to start with fewer resources, or is it more scary to lose the resources later on? I think it's actually more scary to start off with fewer resources because we're not including an emergency cache. The setup turns are so important. Yeah, it's got to be indebted. What do we get? Overzealous. All right, I'm I'm much happier about Overzealous than the Paranoia and losing all our resources. Alright, save. These are our decks, guys. Wow, the side deck for Akachi is 110 XP. There are some duplicates, but we would have to be very flush with cash. What's William Yorick's? 75 also. Think my eyes might be bigger than my stomach. There you are. This is William Yorick's deck. What I like about this is it's a really nice balance of white, red, and blue. It's like the Union Jack, whoa, hurrah, or the Star-Spangled Banner, boo, boo. Akachi's final deck is full of purples, and in a weird way, even though I've just said this is a nice balance, for a Mystic, having an overwhelming amount of purple cards feels like the more aesthetically pleasing choice. So, this has been it. This has been deck building for Carcosa. I dread to think how long this video is going to be. I hope you've enjoyed it, or I hope it's accompanied you pleasantly while you've been doing the washing up or doing the ironing or the laundry. We will get into Path to Carcosa. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't heard much about the campaign, but I know that it's often considered the best one, and that is something I'm very excited for. Really looking forward to William Yorick, and really looking forward to playing with Akachi more because she's our first Mystic, and I'm looking forward to finally getting to use Rite of Seeking and Shriveling. We tried using Rite of Seeking on Zoe and it just never worked out. But yeah, there we are. I will see you next time for hopefully some gameplay.